watching Cron On, streaming now from Cron 4, the Bay Area's local news station.
In the middle of what could be yet another devastating fire season in California, new tools are on the way to help fire crews quickly spot wildfires and put them out before they spread. Real-time airborne infrared data can map hotspots and thermal images within milliseconds and help create fire behavior maps for firefighters within minutes. One of the scientists behind the technology is Carl Pennypacker, a physicist over at UC Berkeley's Space Sciences Laboratory, and he joins us now to tell us more about this cool tool. Carl, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sanaz. What are
I'm sorry, go ahead. You were saying? No, go ahead.
what we're about is that we're trying to bring some of the amazing breakthroughs in technology that all of us live by, cell phones, cameras, computers, trying to integrate that a bit more into the wonderful work CAL FIRE does. CAL FIRE is a fabulous fire department, best in the world. And what our goal is just to bring a little bit more technology, tools, imaging to leverage the resources without spending a lot of money. I mean, fires cost, one study, $150 billion. And we're just asking, it's millions. I mean, a lot on a personal scale, but on the fire scale, it's nothing. So we're saying for nothing, we hope we can help out a bit to the wonderful work of CAL FIRE in our state. So these tools are infrared sensors, high-speed computation, telecommunications, integrated 5G data to all the fire responders. So all these tools are just on the verge of working, and over the next 4 years, I think we'll see a tremendous opportunity to help out a bit. Go ahead, please.
So these tools, there's an infrared data map. It spots these hotspots, and then it creates a fire behavior map. Is that to allow firefighters to kind of get ahead of the fire? Let's say, we see a hotspot in one area. The data then predicts a certain behavior for the fire, and then that allows fire crews to kind of get the upper hand. They can approach, wherever the map shows and prevent forward-moving progress on a fire. Am I right?
Exactly. Again, although there's a couple of phases, our first system is a bell ringer, as it were, in geosynchronous orbit, 24/7. Looking over California all the time. We're also collaborating in a subcontractor of the wonderful alert wildfire system from University of California, San Diego. So in case it's cloudy, we can watch with the fire cameras on the ground. But in the meantime, we hope within a few years to launch a satellite that 24/7 could see a fire about as big as a semi-tractor trailer, just that big. And it's amazing, from 22,000 miles, you're seeing something that big. It just shows how powerful the technology has evolved. So we're capitalizing on the technology. The computing has gotten so much better too. We can find little spots without having to eat up our laboratory's budget on computational cost. And our society needs this so much. All the models predict the next decade is going to be pretty hairy. Even if we reverse climate change, I hope within 10 years, the next 10 years are not going to be pretty. And I think there's an excellent chance within about 4 years, we can really get a much better handle on it.
Now, CAL FIRE already has infrared detectors on its aircraft. Is your detector just more precise? Does it have a more sensitive ability to pick up hotspots? How is it different?
Well, the geosynchronous one, that covers the whole state, whole western United States all at once. You can't have an airplane that can cover that quick. I mean, airplanes go a few hundred miles an hour. So there's just no way you can have an airplane, it would break. So our satellite can pick up the first thing. Then once we know it's there, the airborne sensor, which, by the way, this is funded by the Moore Foundation. And also, by the way, if you could add this at all, Governor Newsom has been so good for California fires. I'm not political, no conflict of interest, but our governor has just been fantastic in supporting these programs. Other governors have not. So anyway, but there's no way that you can detect them from airplanes. So we're bringing that new resource to CAL FIRE. Then also CAL FIRE does rely on the very good nighttime observation system called NIROPS. which is a airplane that flies over a fire once a night, but we want to fly over it once an hour, in the daytime too. The NIROPS detector gets saturated at nighttime and can't watch a fire in the daytime. Daytime's also when the fires are really cooking. Although back in the day, and before, probably before, 20 years ago, fires calmed down at night. But as another problem of climate change, they keep roaring at nighttime.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah, the fire weather patterns with climate change have changed so drastically in the last couple of years that fire crews can't really rely on the evening hours to help them. So that's definitely the case that we're seeing now. As one of the scientists behind this new tool and this new technology, I'm sure you're working very closely with CAL FIRE to kind of come up with everything. Within the communications they've had with you, what are some of the challenges that they have told you they face when it comes to predicting fire behaviors, in the recent years?
Well, this was a terrible case in point, and it happened so fast. It's not obvious we could have been a huge game changer. But for example, in the Paradise Fire, there's a very good Frontline story on this. You might want to check Frontline on PBS. But in the Paradise Fire, CAL FIRE says we had no idea where the perimeter was. So we have that from the incident commander, that they did not know where the perimeter was. And one of the very sad results is that they are saying, okay, people, get out of town. Sorry.
No, you're
telling
fine.
People, get out of town, there's a fire coming, which is 90% of the time exactly the right thing to do. So they were doing best. But the people who were saying get out of town, they didn't have a map on their smartphone saying that there was a fire 1 mile downstream. See, the Paradise Fire, which was just explosive, it threw what we call, it threw spots. Okay, these embers, it's up to a mile downstairs. It threw spots up to a mile. Let me turn off my phone, sorry.
No, you're good.
Spots up to a mile downstream, and they started their own fires. So, in fact, they started, I should send you, they started preferentially on roads even. I think something about the wind currents made the spots start, and so all the escape routes out of Paradise had fires on them. And people saying get out of town. So CAL FIRE did realize that at some point, and they had people shelter in place in a big box store. I don't know if it was a CVS or something, and that saved a lot of people's lives. They responded very well. But if they'd known ahead of time, I think more lives could have been saved. If they'd known where the fire was, where all these spot fires are. These big fires these days, they spread not so much as the front going away, but they throw an ember downwind, and that starts its own fire which then merges. So they can have apparent velocities of tens of miles an hour, even though the fire front, the flame front's not moving that fast. But with these stupid spots, they go so far. And the spots are a product of climate change in some ways too. There's so much fuel, so much wind. You probably saw the pyrocumulus clouds from the bootleg fire. All this stuff is just getting thrown up into our poor atmosphere and creating havoc for everybody around. And just imagine if we could stop it when it's 20 feet by 20 feet.
Yeah, I mean, this tool is the way you explain it and the way it would work, it would not only help fire crews, but, be able to effectively fight a fire, but it also allows for residents in an area, being under threat of a fire, being able to safely evacuate and not encounter various spot fires or roads that are on fire. So the benefit of this would really be twofold. Carl, you're also envisioning the detector to be up in space. Are we talking about like a satellite, being attached to a satellite? How would that work?
One we'd attach it to a ComSat at 22,000 miles. Our bell ringer, ding, which can look at the whole western United States, even Texas. I know some people have